Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to Prep Medic. This week's video, we are walking through my battle belt. So going back to one of my first videos ever on this channel, I did a walkthrough of my duty belt as a reserve law enforcement officer. I then did a video about my SWAT medic belt as an entry team member and a SWAT medic. And since then, I've joined a different TAC med team. We are no longer sworn, so I'm really not carrying much of this on duty. This is purely a hobbyist belt. Now, I thought it would be interesting to go through kind of my mindset on this belt, what I've chosen to put on this. Absolutely nothing in this video was sent to me. I am not sponsored by any of these companies. I don't even have affiliate links to any of these guys on here. I really wanted something that was built completely on my own without any kind of special interest playing into it. So keep that in mind as we watch. Now, there's definitely going to be things you like, some things that you don't like, but this is my setup. It's not saying this is what you need. It's just what I've prioritized on a battle belt. So moving through this belt, let's talk about the base first. So I went with the Ferro Concepts Bison belt just because it had a lot of favorable reviews on the internet. I know some guys on our SWAT team that run this and they've had no issues with it. It's been around a while. It's been kind of proven in professional settings. So I thought, hey, why not? Now, it is kind of pricey. It comes in at like $200, I believe. But in my opinion, it is well worth it. So the base of this belt, you have a thermoplastic semi-rigid frame, and that gives it some load-bearing capabilities. It's not just falling off of you when you put some ammunition on it or your firearm. And then in the middle of it, you have, I believe it's 1-inch tubular nylon, which does give it a load rating of 3,000 pounds. Not that I'm hanging out of a helicopter with this or anything, but you know, I don't know. It's kind of fun to have the capabilities at least to talk about it. And then you have a smaller Cobra buckle, not one of the big ones you see on some of the HSGI belts, things like that. And you do have a D-ring that you could clip into a safety lanyard. They're very clear on their website. This is not a climbing harness. It's not meant to be, you know, repelled with. However, for, you know, a safety line, this is going to work just fine. And then you can also, you know, clip your gloves to it, things like that. So the belt is great. Now, this secures with a hook backing. So there is an inner belt that I think is fine. You know, I've never found an inner belt that I like am super over the moon for. It's not a great inner belt for like everyday carry. If you want to have like an everyday carry pistol in the waistband clipped onto it and then throw this on for a heavier loadout, it works, but it's not the best, I'd say. I think there's some better things on the market if you want something that does both. But for just a battle belt, it works just fine. And this hook backing is really nice because you can get these stays if you want to mount it with these Velcro strips, and all of these pouches are really, really secure on the back of it if you don't want to use the MOLLE webbing. So speaking of the MOLLE webbing on the front, this does have small MOLLE webbing spaces here that you can put anything on there that would be MOLLE compatible. It will slide around a little bit, which is fine. It doesn't really affect things like a med pack, but when you want a precise draw from, you know, an mag carrier or something like that, or you know, your pistol, if you have it directly mounted on here, you're going to want something else to secure it. You can take a Ranger band, throw it around, and it will reduce that wiggle completely. They show it on their how-to videos, but really it's not that big of a deal for this kind of kit. And the only reason it does that is because these are not full MOLLE swaths. These are a lot smaller to take up less space and weigh a lot less. I believe the extra large version of this belt, it weighs about 8 ounces. So I think this one's a small, probably weighs a little bit less than that. Lightweight, but once again, it's not the thing that's going to be breaking my back when it comes to load carriage on a belt system. I did try to slim this down a little bit so I'm not carrying a bunch of unnecessary items on here. All right, so what do I have on the belt? So we're starting with kind of the ammunition I carry. I carry 2 pistol mags on here. I'm not really carrying anything related to my sidearm on my vest for the range or for any other use. And these guys are the Esstac semi-rigid mag holder. I like these guys, and honestly, I got them because I had some experience with them. They have a Kydex insert that holds these really tight, but you don't have any elastic going over the top, which I like. And back when I was using these as a SWAT paramedic, I've never had any of these fall out. So I've ran with it, I've gone over obstacles with it, and I've never had an issue with anything coming out of my belt, which I believe is important. Now, I have the twin mags here for the pistol, and then I have a backup pouch for my AR mags. And somebody's gonna like drag me on the internet for using hex mags. Listen, these are the cheapest 15 round hex mags you can get. Yes, I'm in Colorado. I'm not sworn, so I don't get the fancy 30 round mags. Somebody's gonna be like, well, don't comply. I'd have to be a special kind of stupid to advertise breaking the law on a public forum like this. So these are 15 round mags. They just look like 30 rounds, which is nice simply because they fit in all of my carrier holders. The ergonomics are the same. I don't have to retrain myself for different round counts in different states, depending what's allowed. So this, again, is the Esstac mag carrier. I forget what they're called, but this will just hold one of these. And then it does have MOLLE attachment points on the outside. I'm not going to put anything on it, but it was the same price as one that had nothing, so I'd rather have the ability to throw something in there if I absolutely had to. Below that, I've got the Flatline Fiberco drop pouch, and that mollies into the back of this. So it goes into those straps and just sits right below the mag pouch. I really like this. I think drop pouches, especially for like a hobbyist setup, are super important simply because you're always throwing stuff in here. I'll take waters, throw them in there. I'll take my spent mags if I'm doing, tactical reloads or something like that and throw them in here. This guy actually has a pouch in here for a 30 round mag, an elastic pouch, and you can put some pistol mags in as well on either side if you did want to have some organization within the pouch. Really well made. It's not amazingly lightweight, but it does have a drawstring at the top if you want to keep something in it. So I've always found these pouches to be super useful on the range. And in my operational experience, they're useful. Even for just throwing trash as a paramedic, you can throw stuff in here and not, completely litter the ground around you. So I like this guy from Flatline Fiberco. I actually have one of their slings that I have on my rifle. I did a video on that a couple weeks back. But this just, it works well. Coming to the middle of the belt, I have my med pack. Obviously, I'm a paramedic. This is what I put a lot of energy into because this is kind of my specialty. So for the pack itself, I went with the Coyote Tactical Stomp pouch. And I really hadn't heard of these guys. Train How You Fight Medic, and he is a co-owner of Train How You Fight Supply on Instagram. They make a couple cool products. He was using this as a SWAT paramedic, as one of his IFAKs, and I just really liked how it worked. I thought it was perfect for a belt-mounted kit, and it could carry everything I wanted on it without being just over the top too much. So first and foremost, you got this clip here that kind of retains everything. Now, if I wanted to on top, I've got the ability to MOLLE something in there. If I wanted to put a second tourniquet on this kit, or do something else, I could throw it up there. I left that blank just because I don't need the space. But as we unclip it, what's important, because this is sitting in the small of my back, is that I can pull this out and I can move it to the front. You can see it's very good Velcro there, or I'm just, weak because I'm running so much right now. So this guy here, really easy to pull off and move into your workspace. And then when you're done with it, you can just throw it on the back and it's not gonna be an issue. So in here, I've got a number of things. So first and foremost, we've got the cat tourniquet on the bottom. And one thing I like is that this strap here is actually a retaining strap for this tourniquet, so it's not just gonna follow it on its own. The downside of that is I can't just reach back, grab the tourniquet without unclipping something first. So for some people, that's gonna be a deal breaker, not so much for me. And it's got this handle here. We can open it up and see the inside. Now, I have long been a fan of Crow Medical items because they have the ability to customize the interior, and that is starting to catch on to a lot of different companies. Honestly, I think these guys did it just a little bit better. It was a little easier to customize where things are gonna go in here. So in the top lid, I've got a number of things. I've got a Sharpie, just, you can write time on the tourniquet. I've never put a whole lot of stock into that as, a civilian, just because definitive care isn't that far away. But it's good to have just for marking random things. I've got an ARS needle. A lot of controversy on these, if you should have them in a IFAK or not. Chances that I'm gonna use this, slim to none. But I do have a lot of training on this. I know the indications, when to use it, and why not have it, in my opinion. In here, I've got survival blanket for hypothermia management, and then I've got an eye shield for eye injuries. I actually have two in here. If somebody gets, shrapnel in the eye, something like that. Honestly, something that could very well happen. You guys saw in my rifle video, I was out there shooting steel without any eye pro on. which was not the smartest thing to do. But if I had injured myself, had some spall in my face, this might have come in useful. And then I've got some hand warmers. Once again, is this gonna like fix somebody's hypothermia? No, but I can start the heat regulation process, put it in armpits, or if it's just a cold winter day, I can throw it in my gloves, warm my hands up before I go shoot. Now in here you can see kind of what I was talking about with the customization options. So we've got these elastic straps. You can put them through anything you want, and that'll allow you to kind of make this how you want. Now what's really nice is that this actually has a pocket in the back that I can reach back and kind of thread it through, whereas some of the Crow Medical products you basically have to get forceps and pull it through. Not the end of the world. Once it's set up, it can kind of stay there, but it's nice to have the ability to quickly thread it through, because that can be kind of a pain in the butt. Back here, I've got a nasopharyngeal airway, 28 French, just because the people I'm shooting with are generally average size male patients. I'm not going out with my family a ton or anything like that, so I don't need a bunch of different sizes. That's why I use a 28 French, and it's got lube on it. And then I've got some frog tape. This is from Blue Force Gear. Duct tape is useful for any number of things, and it's a good thing to have in an IFAK, especially when I might be using this as my primary aid bag. You know, I'm not necessarily shooting with my whole, SWAT medic getup. I don't have all sorts of gear to be used regardless of the situation. Now, down here, I've got some gloves, just kind of elastic in there. I've got a ETD. This is an emergency trauma dressing. And then I've got one thing of Celox Rapid, and then one thing of compressed gauze here. And this is just for packing wounds. Make that a little bit easier. And I always carry two, just because, a lot of times this can be used for a bunch of different things, not just life-threatening bleeding, where this is only really going to be used for life-threatening bleeding, and this is not cheap. So, if it's something where I'm just, wrapping a head wound, something like that, or wrapping bandage dressing in, I'll use this instead. And then down here, I've got a thing of hyphen vented chest seals. These, in my experience, give you what you need for coverage without being absolutely humongous, and they fit in most IFAKs. You can carry a bunch of them with very, very little space. So that's what I have in this kit, and like I said, this thing folds up really easily, very compact. It'll go right back on here just like that. Moving down the belt to my firearm. So this is the same Glock 19 I've been carrying for years. I was concealing this up until recently. I switched over to a SIG for my concealed carry and transitioned this more into a range gun. So I'm hoping to add some internals to it, but right now it's the same thing you guys have seen, and I'm not even gonna really go through it for this video. So Glock 19 on there as my range or duty weapon. And then this is a Safariland holster I've had forever, and that's equipped with their QLS system. So if I upgrade, get a different firearm, or want to try a buddy's out, I can just snap this out really quick and throw something else on. This is the mid-ride holster that Safariland has. I want to get one of those, I think it's True North Concepts, mid drop legs, because I hate the low drop legs because they just go everywhere when you start to run. They're not very practical. I started in law enforcement one of those and absolutely hated it. It had the two straps. So I just took the mid-ride one, and then I actually took one of the straps from the other holster I had and threw it in here. And it kind of rides high, but this just gives it a little bit of extra securement while I am running. It's not flopping all over the place and making it really hard to run, which is really important. And that's the firearm. The only other thing worth noting on here is that the sizing for this belt, they have a Velcro strap here that you can supposedly take the excess webbing and throw it in there. It really didn't work very well, so I just duct taped it with black duct tape in kind of a coil, so I can resize it, if I gain weight or lose weight, whatever. But it's gonna stay in place and not kind of come undone and flop around and be a big problem. Overall, I love this setup. There's not a whole lot I would change. Some people would say cant these off to the side. People are gonna say, oh, you need, a clip for your, iPro, Ear Pro, whatever, gloves on here, or have a knife. I've got a knife on my plate carrier that I'm wearing. I don't really like having it on the belt just because I feel like it digs into my side really easily. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think of this setup down below. I'm sure you guys have opinions, and I will see you next week.